Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Wyatt Turk. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Oh, what's up?
Yo, I saw somebody in my feed, and I don't remember who it was, on Facebook. They posted the inside of a Taco Bell Long John Silver's KFC.
They went inside it?
They went inside it, and they showed... And it isn't very much different than
like this is legit. Where'd they post this on your?
It was somebody on my friends list. They're just like, yo.
I have a bounty out for those kind of pictures. Is it a selfie or just a picture?
Any of us in it? It just came up.
Come on,
dude. And I was like, man, that looks like a Taco Bell, and it had like the split menus and all that. And it looked like a respectable place.
I have a Yo Dog bounty for pictures from within sight of Long John Silver's. So let them know. Maybe. Let them know they need to come to my stream to cash in.
Yeah, dude. I'm a little salty. My local Taco Bell has been declining in quality over the past couple of weeks, and I'm starting to be a real Karen about it because I like my Taco Bell. Or they brought me a drink, just like no ice in it.
So now that ruined your whole day?
That's it?
Yeah, because I just wanted an ice cold Baja Blast, and they just handed me a cup with like just warm soda in it.
Wait, how is the soda warm? I thought it comes out of the thing cold.
Well, I was like, I looked at it. I was like, I thought somebody was
kind of feels like their refrigerator system busted.
And I was like, yo, what the fuck? He's like, we're out of ice.
I was like,
what?
I get it then.
I understand. No, I get it now. Like you were looking forward to an ice cold Baja Blast.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yo.
I don't drink a soda, but like once every 2 weeks. Sometimes I just want a cold soda.
Those ice machines the ice makers on top of the soda machines, those are shockingly expensive. Shockingly.
We're talking about like, $200-$300?
Yes.
Makes sense. Well, let's jump into our content. We got a lot today. We got a table of contents that's going to include a secret manifesto, the new rules for 40k, actually updates and stuff. It's actually an exciting week. But first, we're going to go into a Would You Rather with Wyatt Turk.
You are stuck in the desert. Would you rather the devil save you or an evil genie?
What?
It's your only lifeline. Who do you pick?
Would you know if you call them, they're going to save you or what?
Yeah, I mean,
well, it's going to be like stereotypical, right? The devil's going to like want you to proposition your soul for the saving, right?
Yeah.
And the genie is a fucking evil wishmaster. So it's almost like the evil that I know versus the evil that I don't know.
I mean, either way, you're getting some catch, right?
I mean, there's going to be a bartering process with the devil that, you're likely to come out on the bottom of, but some people have beaten him. I mean, I've listened to that one song about that guy with his fiddle. That's in the Bible.
No, it's not.
It's a hymn. No, that didn't happen?
No.
Oh, fuck. Oh, man. I feel like I would do the devil.
Just make a deal with the devil.
Someone in chat's upset that I didn't say we're going into the Cave of Wonders and touching nothing but the lamp. I'm sorry I didn't do my normal opening to this bit.
Kenny, you seem like you're in a hurry tonight. Are you okay? Are you trying to fuck up some tots?
I did fuck up some tots.
Are you trying to fuck up more tots? Are you on a tot spree?
No. I'm satisfied with the amount of tots I've obliterated.
Okay.
But yeah, I would do the devil, and the reason why is because I think I can negotiate a mutually beneficial arrangement for us.
You're going to get screwed either way. Might as well go with the lesser of two evils.
I mean, yeah. But I think I can talk him into... I've read a lot of lit RPG novels, and I got a couple ideas on how I can get them.
Ooh.
I mean,
I feel like
worst case scenario, he's got my soul. Okay.
Rob's looking at his notes. He's stalling for time.
No, I mean, I'm going to go with the genie because I feel like I'm going to know that it's more literally like I'm literally getting screwed instead of like I won't have to think about it as much, I suppose.
But you have to use your first wish to get saved by the genie, I imagine. Like, it's classic genie rules, but he's evil. So he's going to fuck you up somehow. So you got to be like super well. Your shit's got to be on point wording wise.
Yeah, you're going to have to use spell check and definitely check your grammar.
Yeah, you're going to be like, all right, now, genie, get me out of this desert. Put you in the middle of the ocean on a raft. Fuck, genie. I really wish you hadn't done that right now. Put you back in the desert.
Yeah, dude.
No takesy backsies.
You're like, oh, God damn it. You're back at square one. No wishes left. He's like, have a nice day, fucker.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, speaking of lit RPGs, new Town book dropped.
The new one?
Oh.
Newtown just dropped?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Book 7. I started it last night.
I think I got a couple hours left in the book I'm reading right now. I'm very excited to hear that information.
You got to pre-order it. It just auto delivers to your library when it comes out.
Oh, well, I use my credits in real time, like all the time. So, like, I listen to a lot of books. That's right, Brian Pork Chap, Puma Chirp. I'm going to model my hunting methodology off the most feared and renowned predator, the puma. Nobody will see me coming.
Damn, those books are so good.
Oh, God, they are fucking legendary. Karaquini said, if the devil actually shows up, I'm screwed anyway, based on Christian mythology, so might as well meet him now. Yeah, that's true. If he actually shows up, like it's like, okay, so all that's real? Fuck. I fucked up.
And that's just the shit we know about. Air quotes.
I got my my slammers from Rob in the mail.
Nice.
Oh, there you go.
Get good at Pogs.
Next year we gotta have the Pogs themselves. Tell
Yeah,
everybody
get those.
Bring your slammers back.
I'm going to see about ordering some for the WarGamesCon Long War doubles. To see like how long it takes to ship and like all that stuff, so we can get a test run.
Hell yeah. Smart. I like it. Pogs are coming back, guys.
We're bringing it back.
Collectibles, son. Anyway, let's kick it over to Rob for some lizard news. And he's also going to go on a lizard rant, from what I understand.
I would never. Hello, fellow humans. I would like to speak to you about toy soldiers. So this week's releases from Games Workshop, if you can call it that, I suppose, are as follows. Blood Angels Commander Dante at $45. Lion and Retinue $110. Azrael $45. Vashtor $100. Didn't see that one coming. Boarding Patrol Agents of the Imperium and Leagues of Votan, both $140 each. And then the Arcs of Omen, the Lion book, $60. Dice, Sanguinary Guard dice of $35. On the Heresy side of things, the Cerebrus is $115. The Sicaran Venator is $80. And the Lion Son of the Forest book is $27. And Legends of the Dark Angels Omnibus in paperback is $21. Now, the problem with all this is that it's severely allocated. So if you want the Lion, at least in this configuration, they are limited or capped at 3 per store. Dante and Azrael are capped at 2 per store, along with Vashtor. And the boarding patrols are capped at 1 each per store. And what does this mean to you? Well, it means your local game store can't really make any money again this week. For the past 2 months, it doesn't make any sense. Stores are angry. I'm angry. trickle down, whatever. So just do everybody a favor. And if you're vote with your hobby dollars, if you can't get it nowhere else and you want to order from GW, hey man, I can't stop you. But just realize that that's probably their master plan to get people to order it from themselves instead of giving it to stores.
Like super, it's probably the reason why it's limited is so that you go to their website.
Yeah.
Which in a vacuum is nothing wrong with that. It's just that it makes it difficult to support the store, which GW isn't like, I imagine on purpose. I don't think they have a secret spreadsheet that says top agenda, order business, destroy all gaming stores on planet Earth. It's just on the top of the list is find ways to make more money. And so instead of so part of that making more money, I think in general is delivering on dope stuff people want, right? That's like, got it, check. But so driving people to your website will also make you more money for free without making more models, without making even doper models, without anything. It's just literally a different margin, right? So that sucks. 2 Dantes allocated to the store. That's insane, dude. Everyone I know wants a fucking Dante. That's crazy.
Or even the Lion. Like,
yeah, I mean, but like Lion's $100, over $100. Like, we're talking about $45 new Dante Primaris. Every motherfucker I know wants one.
Yeah.
There's 2.
That Dante looks fresh as fuck. But here's the thing too. It's not just stores. This is going to eventually blow back on content creators too, because when you're giving out basically half a store's allocation to these content creators, it's only going to be a matter of time, and maybe it'll be soon, when people start clapping back at them. Like, yo, man, I can't even get this from my store. Why do you already have it painted up? And you're trying to tell me go buy this from Games Workshop. Yo, fuck you. Like, my store, my dude can't eat. Like, it's only going to be a matter of time.
Yeah, artificial scarcity, as Saves in chat said, right?
Yeah, I think people are really starting to kind of see through this whole thing, and it's not just that. On the business side of things, here's where it gets even more wilder. Like, you might have seen where I found that video on YouTube. I did the big article on it where somebody flew, and this guy was an asshole. I'll admit, he made a video. He flew a drone over the Warhammer factory in Nottingham, and there was just shit on pallets, just rotting, literally exposed to the elements, damaged, rotting. We don't know why. You know, it could have been the sewer leak. It could have been, you know, a lot of things that happened right around that relative timetable. And, you know, we put that all in the article, but it's all out there. None of it made sense. But here's the thing. This shit's happening here in the States too, y'all. I was approached by an individual trying to sell a bunch of product that they literally picked up from the dump. And when I say some product and when I say the dump, I'm talking 18 fucking pallets. I'm talking a semi truck worth of stuff. Can you show him the picture?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Put the picture.
He's telling me to use the picture, guys. Oh, I'm so happy.
So here's the thing. This is straight. This is one of 2 storage units that I have the manifest for. I know all this stuff. And I have video of this too. Like, well near $1 million worth of product dumped by Games Workshop here in North America. And here's the thing. People aren't these recyclers and these people that dispose of this product. And I'm sure most of the people listening or watching live, they know, they've seen the dumpster pictures and they've seen the landfill pictures of Pops, you know, Funko Pops. They've seen the Magic the Gathering pallets of product just getting put in a landfill and bulldozed over. It's a little different in Memphis, Tennessee, because everybody's trying to make it out there and make ends meet. And when you got folks that are hustling, like, yo, put that on the ground, here's some money, go away, pretend like you destroyed it. And you got people picking it up and selling it to, you know, it goes into like the whole network, the whole like secondary seller network.
Yeah, we're calling it 40k dumpster wars.
Yeah. So like
it's the Methods Network, dude.
Yeah. So this stuff's out there. Like, it is straight shameful when GW is disposing of product and putting restraints on what stores can buy just to have it waste away in their warehouses where they have to literally throw it out months later. I'm not making this up. This is real. Like, this is where we're at, y'all. Like, support your local game store, because I don't know what's going to happen with all this stuff. I've never seen anything like it before in my life, in all my years. But Games Workshop's trying to make ends meet just like any other company out there, and it's tough. But the more you buy from Games Workshop directly, it encourages this kind of behavior.
So in chat, Mo's Magic, he asked, why would they dump it though? What's the reason? There's a lot of reasons, Mo's Magic. First and foremost, if you run out of space in your warehouse, then you need to make room for the new hot shit you're trying to push out. So obviously you would pick things that make sense to make that room. And, you know, based on the list of stuff that Rob has, the detailed list of the 2 pictures like that, some of it is exactly as you would suspect, things that are not popular or didn't do well. And some of it doesn't make any fucking sense at all. Yeah.
Correct.
Some of it's like kind of popular and valuable. Like, so it's
like a lot of this is Warcry. So definitely they overestimated by a pretty big margin how cool this was. Is like the majority of this picture is Warcry. And apparently nobody's ever played the game. So they're like, what do we do with all this? You know, nobody wants to buy it. Sometimes other companies will like offload stuff to like secondary markets to just like get rid of it as like, you know, they take a little bit of a loss on it, but to get it out of there. And then some companies are just like, we just can't sell this shit. We got to get it out of here. So they just throw it away.
Yeah, because for whatever means, you know, in a lot of cases, depending on how loose your inventory controls are, if stuff just disappears, it's write offable. Like, I don't know, it's shrink, you know, or we recycled it, we gave it to, you know, events, you know, and they get full value on it because they gave it to events in a lot of cases. I can't say for sure.
Dude, there's so many fucking positive community building things you could do with those boxes of Warcry.
Yes.
Like so many positive things. There's many people in chat already said it. It's like, yeah, but those models are dope. They are, even if no one's playing it. That's also a box breaking market, right? Like, like the Warcry models are sick. I just don't want the game box, right? So it's like, there's even on like a making money level on a box breaking style, you can make a ton of fucking money if you didn't get in trouble for box breaking, right? It's ludicrous. And so anyone who's listening to the podcast didn't see the picture we put up because we're talking to the live chat, but there was a picture that showed the inside of one of 2 containers that is conservatively estimated value of over $500,000 in fucking GW product.
I mean, easily $500,000. I know it's closer to $1 million.
Rob says it's closer to $1 million.
And this is just one occurrence of this. Like, I'm kind of inside the machine now as far as that goes, and I get
you're in the GW dumpster wars community now.
I am.
you're like that guy who's like bidding on the storage unit, but doesn't have the money, so he's always just getting the bid started. You know. So
I will let you know, not all of that was Sigmar. Not all of that was Warcry. There was a decent amount in there. There was actual Forge World stuff in there too.
Yeah.
There was 40k releases as recent as November and December of 2022, like major stuff, which was just shocking to me because I did not expect that. I thought those releases did well, and I was a little taken aback. There was stuff in there. There was cases of paint. There was something like, and I don't 100% remember, I want to say well over 100 cans of Retributor Gold spray, which is 30 bucks a can and definitely popular.
What? That is a highly popular product.
Yeah, there was like paint, some of the more popular paints, such as the white that everybody loves. There was just pots of it.
I don't think there's a white paint that anybody likes.
But like that stuff is worth more than gold per ounce, dude. Like what the hell? I mean,
a lot of stores can't get paint right now, you know, and there's basically a pallet of paint. So it's a little unfortunate, and this has happened a lot more. This is just the first I've heard of it, but then when I started looking into it, I was like, oh, this is like a very recent thing. And I don't think it's anything like Kenny's, you know, it's exactly what Kenny said. GW's not out there like, let's screw over the retailers. Like, we're going to put the retailers out of business. They're just trying to make their ends meet this quarter as well.
Yeah.
And I think
part of it too is they want the immediate sales and they want the pre-orders. So part of this like allocation thing is they want people to pre-order the stuff when the window goes live. So like if you go to your local game store and they have a GW account, you can still pre-order stuff like this new one, like Dante, all that stuff. You can pre-order it and you will get it on time. Like that system runs smoothly. But in terms of like shelf stock inventory, these guys are getting fucked over real bad. And part of that is like they want people to pre-order stuff. That's part of what their business model is.
Yeah, everyone wants to do a pre-sale. That's why Kickstarter is the most popular funding platform on the internet, for miniatures included. Like you want to pre-sell things so you don't have to speculate and have dumpsters of shit, right? And so, yes, as somebody in chat mentioned, corporate economics, right? Which probably they did a cost assessment, Kara Quinn mentioned, and they determined that it is cheaper to remove it from the warehouse in the trash than it is to figure out how to sell it.
Yeah, and because so, if you sell it cheaply, it devalues.
And GW they'll never say 50% off all Warcry. They don't do that. That's not the type of luxury sale they do. They would do a value added, which would not move the product or repackage it or change it. Whatever they're going to do, they assessed that would cost them more money than just having it gone. So we understand that instant profit margins, instant money. You have shareholders, everything like that. This is just continuously reminds us and reinforces that GW does not understand this community. Okay, and I say that in like big terms. There is somebody at GW who absolutely advocates for this community. That fucking happens. But those people are constantly being leaned on or outvoted by the people who only care about the instant profit. And so if they could only see the truth, that is, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face when you make moves like this.
Yeah.
You can make a little bit less money right now and create massive goodwill with this community. Like, dog, think about how many fucking tournaments you could sponsor with those just super basic. How about we just donate it to the 3 biggest tournaments in the country who run a fucking charity that's legitimate? How about we put out a sign up sheet for GTs with a requirement based on our like guidelines, because we want a certain level of prestige associated with anything we put our name on, and you can fill in these applications and we'll send you like literally fucking $4,000 worth of fucking prize for it. Like that takes work. That's moving parts. And obviously it's not the instantly remove it and now our profits look correct over here. But think about the goodwill, man. Think about the fucking community there.
I mean, they do give a lot of stuff. I mean, if you walked around at Adepticon, there was pallets of GW product, also Asmodee product, a lot of different stuff from folks. Like even LVO, they had pallets of stuff from GW. So they are giving it in some quantities to events, but just the bigger events. And yeah, maybe they could do more, but you're right. That's a person. That's a lot of community interface.
Somebody at GW probably said that same thing I just said to somebody at GW. They probably floated that same thing. Aside from all of the
like donating and reboxing and all those ideas, which are good ideas, like objectively, probably one of the biggest problems with that is like somebody's going to do it, and they got to do it on company dime.
Yep.
And that's the thing, is that like Games Workshop, again, like disagree with it, agree with it, whatever. They do not like giving people like overtime or like extra beyond salary or extra beyond
or a budget allocation or anything, because somebody definitely walked into the room with a budget proposal and a fucking notebook with a plan outline to fucking do, just somebody out there who's a community centered like director who presented this and how they can roll this out, and it was denied, and therefore it ended up at dumpster wars.
Yeah, and it's a thing. So, it was just a little disappointing to
is
see
highly disappointing
on both ends of the spectrum. And there's a lot more inside baseball stuff, that I'm not going to get into, that I know they've said to different entities about this policy and about other policies they have. And if I say it out loud, and I think it would be more negative of an effect than positive, because, a lot of partner retailers are beholden to certain rules that they don't have that luxury to just pretend to do whatever they want.
Here's a solid piece of advice against Rorschach, because we know they listen to our podcast. That's why we have to move our dates around so much. The sooner you do something like we just suggested, the sooner it's always in place, right? So it's not like you have to create a new initiative every time you need a dumpster war or something. You already have the initiative. So you...
Oh, yeah. So it's like, when's the best time to start losing weight? Like
today. Yesterday. Yeah, literally. Yeah. Best time to plant a tree was yesterday. You're right, or 10 years ago, right? Like literally every day you don't do it, it's like the sunk cost fallacy like becomes a reality. You know what I mean? And so do it. Fucking let that initiative be spearheaded by somebody at your company. Make it fucking prestigious, whatever. And it's there forever now. It's always there. Now you have a new fucking funneling operation for the community, goodwill and goodwill for everyone. Yeah. Like, just do it.
Yeah, I agree.
They have such a weird mentality on it because they've been doing this for a long time. Yeah. At a store level, they do it all the time. Like if a codex gets replaced,
yes,
or doesn't sell, or like a Black Library novel sits on the shelf and doesn't sell for a few months, store policies, you rip the cover off of that and throw it away and send the covers back to corporate to prove that you did it. They're not super like anal about checking all the time. So like people get a lot of free books.
Yeah. I've got a friend who literally is himself basically a store now with how much fucking stuff he has.
And then I remember a close friend of ours who used to work at the corporate level of the company when they shut down one of the big US facilities. They took everything and just put it in a dumpster because according to their mentality, like anything less than that, where it gets to the public, devalues it, and they don't want to devalue it. So the better thing is just to like keep it under wraps, throw it away.
Well, the problem is times are tough out there, and this shit ain't getting thrown away completely anymore. I don't know if they've been doing it for a number of years, but they definitely been doing it recently along with some other policies.
But now you're in the dumpster wars community, and so like you're going to start seeing how often it happens.
See behind the curtain a little bit for the first time.
And so
yeah, it's shocking.
If GW takes anything we say, into heart at all, this is a no-brainer, guys. Like, don't do that. Do something better. Because you just proved to everyone, as someone in chat just said, you could have basically saved stores during COVID with shit like that.
Yeah. No, they could have went Indominus. And even that Catachan Colonel. You
could have just picked a store and they would have not gone out of business. Like, you could have just done that, right? So now we know. And you know. And your shareholders know. Like, fuck. We could have, huh?
Yeah, my hope is they learn from this because seeing how much stuff is being thrown away and like how much that stuff is like games that honestly like just never really took off, that they learn a lesson from like overestimating things or like, hey, maybe, finger on the pulse of your community, realize that most people who are into these games, they only do like one game. Like it's either Age of Sigmar or 40k and that's it. Not a lot of people cross over or have multiple games. Not a lot of people do these side games, and continuously just like making all of this stuff that nobody ends up buying is like wasting a lot of money.
I mean, I just want to be clear. The fact that, yeah, you can see a lot of like Warcry, for instance, in that picture. I have all the pictures and I have video of both units. It's not just that stuff. It's mainline 40k. There's a lot.
I mean,
there's a shocking amount of mainline 40k.
Just, a lot of what I heard when I ran the store, when it comes to things like Shadespire and Warcry and, sadly, Titanicus, is like, man, I wish that they like, instead of making this thing that nobody asked for and nobody wants, I wish that they used that like manpower, like the money that they put into the manpower to develop all this into like 40k or like into Sigmar to make those systems better and have more releases and cooler things there rather than like Imperial Aeronautica, which I have never seen anybody buy a single time, like, or play,
Oh, it's so funny because Raising Rumors is like, yeah, but you guys are forgetting GW Store is now taking unused or used sprues and unpainted plastic to the recycling. Well, they didn't recycle any of this shit. They just sent it to a landfill.
Dump.
Sent to a straight up landfill, right?
They were just like,
but I get the joke. I get the joke.
Their land.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. I do just as a little like tidbit. One thing I know for sure is in that grouping, there was, you guys remember the Horus Heresy, the black
character boxes.
The character boxes. It's the Horus Heresy, and it's like
gold foil, stamped.
or like a Sigismund or whatever character, right?
Yeah, don't play around. We all know it was all Lorgars. Every one of them was Lorgars. Nobody wants that fool.
There was 228. There was half a pallet of those in that lot. 228 of them.
It's a lot of Lorgars that nobody likes.
That's all the Lorgars on the market.
Yeah. Actually, they were marked as...
No, don't you mislead our audience.
They were marked as Magnus the Red. And I guarantee you there's not 228 Magnus the Reds.
Sad.
The folks with this stuff are not as familiar with the product as we are. But anyways...
They saw one Magnus the Red and were like, cool, I'm not counting the rest of these.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's $155. Okay, and like put it on the sheet. Like, I get it. Or maybe it was. I don't know.
Maybe it was.
I seriously doubt they are all Magnus the Reds. I did want to mention there's a couple of events coming up. ATC's American Team Championships, the last week of July has officially announced that they will be 10th edition 40k for the team tournament. There is also a Horus Heresy event, and tickets are all on sale right now. So check that out because it's the first confirmed 10th edition tournament. Also, the week before that is the Lone Star Open in Texas. I think
that's the military appreciation event.
Yep.
Super cool. I'll be there.
There are still tickets left.
And they haven't confirmed what edition they're playing yet?
They have not.
Yeah, that one's weird because it's the 22nd and 23rd of June.
They might be the last 9th edition tournament.
It depends.
I doubt it. No.
I have a strong feeling that even if it's like a week before, so like the majority of the audience is going to call for 10th edition. That's what I predict.
Well, the weird thing is with them is that the middle of June is ACO, and ACO is looking like it'll probably Atlantic City Open. It will probably be the last 9th edition tournament because, there's some contextual clues you can take, like pre-ordering the 10th on the 10th of June sounds pretty good for a release on the 24th. It may not pan out that way, but we know it isn't going to be the first week of June because that's the play it for the first time.
And the thing is, there have been tournaments in editions, ATC included, where we were playing the last edition, even though the new edition was already out.
Yeah.
Because a high level, it's the same thing as an FAQ cutoff. Like if it came out last week, it's like almost impossible to run a competitive tournament with the rules that dropped yesterday.
Yeah. We'll have to see. Cause like if I were a bet man, I would say like the most asked question leading up to the Lone Star Open is like whether or not it's going to be 10th edition.
And then the TOs are just going to have to make a decision based on the fairness factor, right? Like,
yeah,
that's it. So it's possible that it can go either way.
But a lot of rules have actually come about because of ATCs as well. Like some of you might remember, boots on the ground rule actually came about because the ATCs were the first tournament to run 7th edition?
The flyers, the flyer list.
The flyers, and everybody had flyers.
And they had to come up with a rule that, where if you didn't have boots on the ground, you're fucking tabled.
Yep. So that was the thing. So, it's, I guarantee you ATCs will be an exciting time, whether it's, we know it's going to be 10th edition, apparently. I don't know how they know, but they know. So whatever. So lots of cool events coming up here in the States, independent folks that you might want to check out if you're really excited about playing 10th. I'm sure we're going to talk about that more here in the next segment. I'm personally excited for 10th, so I can't wait to learn more about it.
Yeah.
Is that what we're moving into?
We're going to get into it?
Now, I set that all up. I like the volleyball in the air.
I don't know how to play volleyball, dude.
I can't. Sometimes.
All right, I'll get into it. So we got some new 10th edition stuff that released over the past week. one of the big things that they hinted at is characters joining units, and they
That
will
seems
be
cool.
Yeah, so it seems like, at least in some instances, characters giving an aura are no longer going to do that, and to get a bonus from that character, they'll have to join a unit. Some characters will join units, and there will be limitations to which units they can join. They'll be listed out. Some characters are going to be standalone and may or may not buff units near them. They also listed one of the new keywords like lone wolf for some of those characters, or lone warrior. They show off the new Primaris Lieutenant abilities like tactical precision, and he gives lethal hits to weapons in that unit while he's attached to him. And then he also gives target priority, where the unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back. In addition to that, Space Marine lieutenants can join units that captains have already joined. So you can have a captain and a lieutenant in a single unit. It's probably not the only type of character that's going to be able to do that. So you might have like a big leader and a little leader that can both join units across factions. That seems pretty cool. They show off a list of units that a lieutenant can be attached to, like assault intercessors and blade guard veterans, as well as a couple of redacted units, which, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what those are.
That's actually really interesting, because one of the first instances when we were playing 8th was like Aura City, right?
Yeah.
Everything was about bubbling around, passing up around these auras, and just like optimizing your reroll game. Then they started changing the way some of that worked, right? And it got a little bit more freedom, I think, because we weren't so like concerned with bubbling up or casting around our bubbles. And so they've been definitely, and then a lot of these like abilities have become more point and click command phase abilities with some auras. So we've been trending. We went all the way from auras everywhere overlapping to kind of buffs for the units you're attached to and maybe point and click abilities, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense. It also kind of explains some of the motivation for going back to character joining units, because that's a pretty clean way to do that.
So we still have some questions regarding this. Like, the main question I have is how wound allocation is going to work, whether or not you can take saves on that character when they join the unit, because as we know from the last time, that is a really easy way to break stuff. So that is probably the main thing.
Yeah, your example of an Archon and an Incubi squad, right? Incubi aren't supposed to have a 2 open vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you can tank 2 open vulnerables on your commander, like that, is like, that's not inherently a problem, but like but we need to see the mechanic for wound allocation, because that's what led us to Death Stars. That's what led us to complex wound allocation, right? Starting kind of at the end of 5th, with Knob Bikers moving into like Drago Stars and stuff like that, we started getting complex wound allocation. And then going into 6th and 7th, we got full-blown Lookout Sir and challenge mechanics. And so with that combined with USR sharing, became insanely overcomplicated set of rules that equated to obnoxious amounts of dice being rolled one at a time to preserve the life of the unit through a blade of wound manipulation, right?
Right.
And so we don't want that, right? But remember, in 3rd, 4th edition, and even most of 5th, you would join baller commanders to units, and it was just fine. Nothing weird about it, right? So how do you allocate these wounds? What happens to some of our special rules we're used to, right? So do we see this sheet? Do we see if they have things like heroic intervention or
so that is not mentioned. They don't actually show the lieutenant like data card. These are obviously like made up graphics for Warcom. So as far as we know, the only abilities that this guy gives to his unit is tactical precision and tactical priority. And we still don't know what a captain does or any of that stuff.
We don't see the lieutenant's data sheet?
No.
Okay, so that makes sense. So it also looks like, based on what Rune Lord is saying, that it looks kind of like they're mapping it to same armor type to the same unit.
That is, pretty apt, I would say. Like,
so that's a really dope solve for some of our concerns with like someone using a stronger save that I would want. That's kind of but so we talked about this in tactics, right? So it would be neat if the Lookout Sir rule, which has been the most FAQ'd rule outside of fight last or fight first, maybe more FAQ'd. The Lookout Sir rule, which was the whole like problem with 6th and 7th, changed into the concept of you can't shoot the character unless it's the closest thing, intervening models, etc. That had to get changed so many times because of how abusive it was too. So they
didn't think it all the way
even
through.
The fix got abused.
Yeah, and it seems like some of that is still going to happen because they do mention in the lone operative section how some characters are like, we just help out units nearby, but we don't join them, such as like. They listed Iron Father Pharaohs, who's like the turbo tech marine for the Iron Hands. Like he's working on a vehicle to like fix it up. Or the Lion Johnson, like he's just hanging out. There's some infantry, but he's not like in their unit. So it also seems like you're not going to see a huge disparity in base size either. So like we have the 32s and 40s for normal Space Marines. So you're probably not going to be able to join like a 60 millimeter base to a unit.
Well, some of them are 50. I'm sure like Azrael's 50 and Lion's probably going to be 60.
So if we go away from the concept of it has under X wounds and is character, if you go to just things have this lone operative keyword, and this lone operative keyword is literally can't be shot at unless it's the closest, it's pretty clean. But not everyone has that. It's not like demon princes are floating around with that. You know what I mean? Which was another problem, right? So what if what we pitched was what if the modern Lookout Sir was literally that the character who joins a squad is the last model in the squad to have wounds allocated to him because the squad is keeping their commander safe. Basically, what Lookout Sir is, right? You're throwing the wounds back to your
makes a
squad.
lot of sense. Like, because we have the system of like. I do attacks to you. I do wounds to you. You pick which unit those are allocated to, and then you make saves. If the rule is I cannot select the character to allocate wounds to until he's the only thing left, that would stopgap those problems.
Yeah.
It's also entirely possible that for some factions, they're going to have way more lone operatives than they do characters that can join units. So even my example of like Drukhari, given the way that Drukhari play, it is entirely possible that most of their character units straight up just don't join, battle line units because of the way their faction plays. So we'll have to.
Which is pretty insightful and actually kind of answers some of our earlier questions. And just to clarify to some people in chat, so like the rule currently is like when you start rolling on a thing, you roll until it dies. That's the game, right? And even if a character fell in that rule, you don't want to have a guy who has a 4-up invulnerable and maybe 8 or 6 wounds and a unit of guys with no invulnerables and 2 wounds, just like bouncing off like an unnecessary amount of damage that can be obnoxious against certain factions. Especially, who knows, what if you can customize your captain to have +1 to a save? And he said that now he does have a 2-up save. You know what I mean? So we've been there, done that. Let's just if they're going to buff the unit, let them buff the unit, let the squad bodyguard for them, unless you have sniper rules or maybe duelist rules, which brings us to heroic intervention. What do you do with heroic intervention in the system? We used to have something called challenges. Remember that, Rob?
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody would go in, you're the charger, you would issue a challenge. This guy could deny the challenge. If he denied the challenge, they had to sit out the combat. But if you said,
which is also huge.
Which is huge. But if you're like, I don't want to issue a challenge, I'm a fucking towel buster. Now it can go to me and I'm like, well, I am challenging you. Fuck, I gotta sit out the combat. Right? But if we both wanted to fight, like we would teleport together and fucking fight. So there is still a way to do like a really cool mechanic that was really fun with these ballers attached to the squad, which suddenly validates a bunch of units like Lucius the Eternal with all his duelist bullshit and anybody who has shit like that, who are like dragging people in the challenges even if they say no. Or people who can deny challenges with no negatives, like maybe like a Tau person, you know? So I would love to see some of the universal special rules that used to exist come back in a way that integrates with how we've been playing 9th into 10th. Like, I would love to see heroic intervention be the old challenge mechanic and Lookout Sir basically explain how characters can't be abused in any capacity in the unit. But so far, it looks pretty good with what you just said, Wyatt.
Yeah. We'll have to see how that develops. And then we also got a look into how vehicles are shaping up this edition, because they did talk about how toughness values are going up. And honestly, a little surprising, because they showed us a Rhino data sheet, and that thing is toughness 9.
Toughness 9, baby.
Beefy boy. Also, some cool stuff is it has a firing deck again. So dudes can pop out and shoot out of it, but only 2 guys.
Which was how it used to be.
Yep, gives a little bit more efficiency to the Rhino. Kind of cool. It also has self-repair, where it heals a wound in your command phase. And we see some more weapon options. So hunter-killer missiles have the one-shot rule. You can only use it once per battle, same as it always was, right? However, it hits on 2s, and it's strength 14 now.
That's incredible. So let's talk about that Toughness 9 for a second. So what we talked about tactics the other day and stuff like that, and even today, and what we've been circling around is how vehicles obviously typically are very good in the beginning of an edition, but also how it used to be, right? With armor value. With armor value, like a Rhino, armor 11, a strength 4 weapon, NA, not applicable, could not interact with it. But if you got around to its rear armor, which I'm not advocating for, fuck that shit. You could interact with it. You could glance it on 6s, okay? So I was like, yeah, I would like to see a world in which bolters just couldn't hurt vehicles, and Wyatt's like, no, we don't want that. We want to make it much harder, but not applicable. This is kind of that thing right here. If it's toughness 9, that means it's more than double the fucking strength value of all strength 4 weaponry and strength 3 weaponry. So it doesn't need to go into a not applicable category, just a wound on 6 category. Because right now you're wounding like almost everything on 5s. Well, a ton of guns shooting a 10 wound item and wounded it on 5s that has no access to cover because it's a tank is mathematically identical to shooting at a squad of Space Marines that you went on 4s and cover. It's pretty fucking easy to kill. So it devalues the specialty of certain weapon choices and makes it not necessary to take flexible options, just over the top options like your Sand Grenade Guard example from last week or anybody with enough shots. Toughness 9 as the baseline for the Armor 11 Rhino of the past achieves that result. Meaning, don't waste your bolters on this shot, on this guy. Shoot your last kid at him, shoot your bolters over there, unless it's the Hail Mary last 2 wounds, and you got to see if you can convert a 6. That's what's up. That's how you make this a sci-fi IP look sci-fi again.
Something I was thinking about in between tactics and now was we could go into a world where a bolt gun or a las gun cannot wound a Rhino because we have this new mechanic of lethal hits and critical hits. So there is a possibility
that they don't have critical hit.
That, like, if you're attacking something that is double the toughness of your weapon, you must have lethal hits or critical hits in order to wound it.
Wow, so that's a good point.
Because they explain
this manifesto thing, crits are going to be a thing just in general.
Well, we all know that thing is wrong.
No, but the thing is, that's also what they also said that on Warcom too. So.
Right. So lethal hits, they explain, is if on a hit roll of a 6, it automatically wounds. We've seen that rule before, just under a new name now. And then with the critical hits, that's when you
wound roll.
It's a wound roll. So, well, again, this is speculative.
So if you're a las gun, you might not have critical hits. You might just have to always raw dog in it, and and they can literally not wound it.
Yeah. So you need to have things like a Space Marine Lieutenant for your intercessors.
Who gives them a critical hit?
Exactly. So again, I was thinking about that because one of the things that they talked about during the live stream was that there is a added incentive for bringing units to buff other units beyond like just aura abilities, like flat aura abilities. So like there is a reason that you're going to want that lieutenant to be attached to a squad in order to, do this, that, or the other thing. And that could be the reason, like this lethal hits thing.
I love that. I'm actually really excited about the Toughness 9 Rhino, which I think really does showcase moving in the right direction. I also love these keywords. I love the cleanness of these special rules so far. The concept of lethal hit, the concept of critical hit, like, and just knowing what they mean, and like, you don't have to like learn some Tau bullshit that means the same thing, you know?
Right. And then the next in the article, they talk about how most vehicles are going to be quite a bit less vulnerable to infantry portable weapons, such as meltaguns. And that like makes me happy, because one of the things that we've been talking about is, well, what do we do if meltaguns are still just like the best option for everything all the time, right? Like, how do you deal with that? And so one of the things that I speculated on was that you're going to have power levels, not necessarily like a stat line like the power level we have now, but like an infantry portable las gun is not nearly as powerful as like a multi-melta or a quad multi-melta on like a Land Raider or something, right? So maybe that's what you're supposed to do. So like we see the I forget the name of the weapon, but there's like the triple multi-melta on the Storm Speeder. That's like a special thing. And you have like the Gladiator with multi-meltas and anti-tank lasers and things of that nature. So it's maybe possible that we see those types of weapons that are like, I'm going to shoot this at a tank. I'm going to shoot the anti-infantry weapons at infantry, et cetera, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, they definitely mentioned that even the same weapon wouldn't function the same on a different unit. So, like, there's definitely already a precedent for that based on what they said. It's all going to come down to the individual profile. So you can kind of have an idea of what a bolter does, but it might not function the same depending if it's like a lieutenant or a captain versus like an intercessor versus the same thing with like a las cannon, like you were saying, or a melta weapon, depending on the platform.
So at like objective game design brain on that point worries me, just because like part of the conceit of this new edition is like simplified but not like baby mode. And so I feel that if you have like the bolt gun or a storm bolter or something like that, and you have varying stat lines depending on what unit that bolter is on, is going to lead to a lot of confusion. Because one thing that we are able to easily memorize right now is that like if somebody has a bolt gun and it's not like a special name thing or a relic, we all know what that bolt gun does because it does the same thing for everybody, right? Same with other types of weapons. So it's an interesting idea for sure. And I think you could have scaling weapons depending on an infantry portable version of that weapon and like a mounted version of that weapon or a vehicle mounted version of that weapon. But I don't think I would like to see a bolt gun be different between units in the same faction.
No, definitely that can't exist. It has to be special weapons and heavy weapons only if it goes that route. Yeah. But even then, this kind of showcases the legends mechanic. If you legend a bunch of these units that can use those weapons, then what you're left with is these other new weapons no one's ever heard of, right? That function similarly, but at a less power level than what's on tanks. But even if you don't legends everything and you have squad las cannons, the solution there is to not name them las cannons and then name the ones on your tank las cannons. The solution there is to fucking come up with a new name. Like,
yeah,
mobile las cannon and quad destructor las cannon, you know?
Yeah. Last cool point about these is these vehicles have varying OC values.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something I was so excited to talk about during tactics, because one of the problems that we had in this edition is that vehicles, with a couple of exceptions like OBSEC armatures and things of that nature, always felt it was just a feels bads when you're like, I have this giant tank sitting on this objective. Nobody should be able to take this objective. And this like lone little offset guy rolls up and just touches his pinky finger to the objective. And he's like, it's mine now. There was a cognitive dissonance of like the narrative way that we play this game, even at a competitive level. So these vehicles, like the repulsor having an OC value of 5, makes it a lot easier to put on an objective and have it be value when you're playing that game. And it also speaks to how, some of the larger things are going to have much higher values, right? So I would not be surprised in the least if something like a Questoris chassis Night Titan has an OC of 20. Because again, if we're going based on what we've seen so far,
threat level equal OC on single model.
So a unit of 10 intercessors or a 5 intercessors is 10, right? Because they're 2 apiece, right? And so a 10 unit is 20. Same with a full unit of Gaunts, like 10 Gaunts is a value of 20. So if we're thinking about this in the way that we all think about Warhammer, because the lore exists, a huge Night Titan is standing on this important part. Do you think he cares about 10 Gaunts on his feet? Like he's just going to step on them. Like that has no value to holding that objective versus something like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm very interested to see how that goes.
And it looks like exactly as you're saying is the truth based on what they showed. They showed the Storm Speeder was OC3. The escalating damage output went up higher and higher. So you can also associate that probably with characters, right? Characters would probably have OC based on their threat level. Like you're gonna see like a certain smaller people with OC1, OC0, and some mega hard hitters flowing around out there with OC fucking 10. Like,
and I like the complexity that this adds to the game, right? Because when you have these values, it's a lot easier to calculate. I look at this from somebody who might be learning the game for the first time. So the OBSEC thing is a little weird because it's like, well, I have more guys than you. Why should you control the objective? And I was like, well, I have this rule called OBSEC. It's like, oh, well, why doesn't my stuff have OBSEC? And it's like, well, the rule doesn't apply equally across all factions, and it can be on wildly different things.
Oh, and actually, these guys aren't objective secure. I just bought this OP Warlord trait that is a bubble that everything is OBSEC.
So all of my stuff has OBSEC.
So including the guy with the Warlord trait and my Apothecary too.
And again, like if I have something committed to this objective, like a tank that actually physically covers most of the control area, you shouldn't be able to go up and like pinky touch with one dude and take it from him.
This provides us with a layer of complexity.
Yes.
Because people were worried about, oh, it's going to get simple on us. Motherfucker, you don't even know how to play the game. I don't want to hear that. Right? Secondly, this is a layer of complexity, right? Because let's say I have my 10 Gaunts, OC 20, if they're all on the objective. That's not always how it plays out, though. I'm going to move, advance, and I'm going to get 3 guys on the objective.
Right. So now
I'm at 6.
The scale of a vehicle actually helps in the control of the battlefield because it's like, well, you may have this crazy high OC value, but you can only touch it with one model.
Yeah. Or so yes, I love this, but here's that's a real world application, right? I get 3 on it. And you can and I can get all 5 of my Space Marines on it and take it from you. Right? Or a vehicle with OC5 can kill all but 2 of the fucking guys in the squad, and it's his now. Where in the past, he had to literally kill the squad in order to even be considered eligible to fucking hold this motherfucker. So now, you don't actually have to just point and click units to take the objective back from them. You just have to do damage, and you can be exactly enough damage, and it's yours now. That's so much. So think about charges too, like ongoing combats. You can charge into this squad and kill the exact right amount. How exciting is that? You're like, fucking did it. Like, and it's yours. But then, then they bring it, reinforce it, and they kill the right number in yours, and it's theirs now. Like, this is a layer of complexity that is pretty easy to wrap your head around, that has about as moving parts as Objective Secure did, where you have to do like Objective Secure check, model count. Like, this is basically the same thing, except now vastly more narrative focused. Like a knight, like you said, with 20 OC. Yeah, it's obviously the bigger the model, the more damage it can do, and the more points it costs. It shouldn't have been the less objective controlling it had. It should have always been the more. How can you have a 500 point investment literally be useless on a game that you have to hold objectives to win? That was a mistake.
So
that was a mistake, GW.
That's my hope. So we'll have to see how that works out. But they do mention that the Stomper is toughness 14. So that's kind of cool.
That is dope.
But we also did see that we have hunter killer missiles, which are strength 14. So there are going to be anti-vehicle weapons. So don't just like YOLO out there and get hit with 5 railguns in the face. But
they said not as much stuff was going to be as powerful though.
Right.
So maybe this is the exception rather than
the
you're still wounding on 4s,
hunter
right?
killer missile wounds it on 4s.
Yeah.
I mean, a one-shot weapon should probably be pretty strong.
And it is. And it's really good at shooting other not Stampas, tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it makes sense if you think about it in like a real world application, right? Like this is your dedicated transport. It's a taxi. It's a battle taxi, right? But it has like 1 ATGM on there just in case. So like that hunter killer missile isn't necessarily meant for this like super heroic Hollywood Rhino to launch at the Orc Stompa. It's to be like, oh, there's an enemy troop transport over that away, and I need to take that objective. So I'm going to launch my ATGM so that my guys can go over there and mop up.
So that gives me hope too. If Stampa goes up that is getting that tough, that's sexy.
I have high hopes for my Lord of Skulls and Brass Scorpion.
These toughness values are fucking dope. Like toughness 6 was just never enough for a tank. It's what eventually inevitably led to tanks being just weak. And no matter how much you discount a tank, which is like after the so when it's tanks are great, and then we got to get balanced, and then infantry is great. No matter how close to free you make the tank, it doesn't matter if it just is in the way, doesn't score objectives because we need to score objectives to win, and is super easy to fucking kill. Every tank in Warhammer 40k right now is basically look at it, it dies.
Yeah.
So this is a step in the right direction to make vehicles powerful again, to make our sci-fi IP look sci-fi again. And it's
not just vehicles too. Like I'm really interested to see how they change things like our demon engines, how they change things like the different sizes of monsters, even stuff like the Lion, Gilliman, Angron, Mortarion. Like what are their toughness going to be? What's Abaddon's toughness going to be? Just to see how they utilize this new sliding toughness scale to like represent the badassery of things.
I think that it's safe to say we can actually do a lot of power scaling based on the Rhino, I think. And what the intent, I think it's safe to assume that the intent is to make it so that strength, under strength 4 or even strength 4 wounds it on 6s or can't wound it, right? Unless that's critical. Okay. Yeah. So if that's the intent and we can see that it went from toughness, it was toughness 7 before.
Yeah.
So now it's toughness 9.
Yes.
Angron will be toughness 9. Things in his classification will be toughness 9. Things that can't join units that are big monsters that fly around will be toughness 9. Be the same intent. Okay. Maybe 1 less. Just so that bolters still can wound him on 6s without critical. Right? Or down to toughness 8. People like Mortarion who already went up to toughness 8 will probably go to toughness 9 to be in that category. So like I think that's a safe inference.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, and Terminator's up to T5 now, so like a lot of this makes sense. Now this is a very clean system so far. And a lot of our concerns over the last week are kind of being answered almost in real time by GW.
Yeah.
It's actually really exciting.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot more previews over the next couple of weeks because, once all the stuff hits at Warhammer Fest, it's going to be, the floodgates are going to be open because that's just how it is. Usually just before a big reveal, stuff starts hitting the web, like the actual, stuff. So they basically have about a week to get on with it before it leaks.
It's what you were saying a couple weeks ago. You're like, it's going to be nonstop because of the timeline. Yeah. So we're going to get an exciting amount of adrenaline, dopamine fucking high from vastly speculating, going on emotional roller coasters and having our questions answered immediately. And it's going to be a really exciting ride until the release, it looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Which is way more fun than it's going to release sometime next year, crickets for fucking a year, and then you hear about it.
Dude. I'm getting that way with like movies and TV shows and video games too, where I'm just like, bro, don't even fucking tell me about this unless it's like 4 months from now.
Yeah, my heart can't handle this.
I do. I don't want to hear about a movie that's releasing 2 years from now. Like, shut the fuck up. Like,
yeah. So I think that's a good conversation we just had. I think we're
I think we hit all the bases.
I think we can get Rob to bed on time.
Pour one out for your Deathwing homies.
Oh yeah, that's right. We got to report on one last thing.
Late.
That was my report.
That was your report.
That's basically it.
Sorry, guys.
If you guys aren't aware, you lost Transhuman on them Deathwing Terminators.
And Kasserkin aren't as good as they used to be, but come on.
That's not as earth shattering as the army that you played lost its most defensive special rule that you admittedly didn't pay for. So like, I know it hurts and I know it stings.
Apparently it's not, they didn't want it happening with the Lion for these next couple months.
Obviously, but also
he was never going to get in the first place.
He wasn't, because he's not infantry.
Yeah.
Right.
But literally you don't need a whole army of transhuman, like full transhuman. Like that's crazy. Like,
that is kind of crazy. Even for when
it's crazy. Fucking don't worry about it. You're going to get a new index in like a fucking month. So
yeah, if you don't like 40k right now, just wait like 2 months.
Yeah, nice. Oh, and as Wyatt said earlier, which I thought was quote worthy, there's only 2 options here. When the new edition comes out, you either play it or you don't.
Yeah. I mean, that's all the time anyways, regardless of nothing. It's like you want to play Warhammer or not play Warhammer. Those are your 2 options. And so I choose to play Warhammer, even if initially there's some things about this edition that I don't like.
Yep. Play or don't play. I like Warhammer, so I'm going to keep playing. And it has been actually an incredible journey since 3rd edition to now. Right? We had Road Trader, then we had 2nd edition Warhammer 40k, and then we got indexed. That's how 3rd edition started. We had one rule book with all the black and white army faction rules in it. And then they started trickling extra rules out through White Dwarf and codexes and stuff, those paperbacks. Then 4th dropped, and it wasn't a new edition. We can still play our codex. Then 5th dropped, wasn't a new edition, but we can still play our codexes. And people were waiting on new codexes for 10 years at this point, guys. So let's not sit on our high horse pedestal of memories, thinking about the good old days. No, motherfuckers are waiting 10 years to get rules.
Well, I call it the dark times, man.
That's the dark times, son. That was the dark ages. And then 6 dropped, and everyone's like, well, 6 was so bad. It's like, it only had one bad rule. It was Battle Brothers on the Ally Matrix. The Ally Matrix was dope. It let us do cool shit. It was one problem. It was what they allowed to be Battle Brothers. This was also the dark times before they did balance updates and fucking FAQs.
Yeah. So
the only solution that GW had was to make a new edition of the game to fix one fucking rule. Today, they were like, ooh, we went a little hard on the Battle Brother Matrix there, fixing that. And it would have been the day 1 FAQ, baby, no problems. That was the only issue, man. And then 7th came out, and it was fun. They fixed Battle Brothers, right? We still had all the other cool mechanics. And then they realized that people should probably be paying for things they're summoning to the battlefield, reinforcement points, right? And also, some of the second power is a little over the top. That's when the ITC came out. And then they were like, maybe the way we score the game is a little archaic, like end of game objectives. ITC missions pack came out and fixed it. So the only real actual problem with 7th edition was that formations came out, and they were trying to sell us like 100 rhinos for the Gladiator Strike Force that were free in our army list, or a whole new box of war convocation shit, or whatever. GW realized that's not the path forward. And when we finally got our first new edition of Warhammer 40k since 3rd edition changed over from 2nd edition, they put reinforcement points in the game. There is no ally matrix. There was detachments, a new cool way with keywords, and they have not done formations. They do armies of renown. And armies of renown aren't just 10 free rhinos. They're just a new subfaction. The game has progressed forward flawlessly this whole time. We don't play in the Dark Ages. This game is so much fucking better than it used to be. God, 3rd edition was a child's game compared to what we play now, man. This is tight.
Some of us are just big kids, Kenny.
We all are, right? But can you keep playing with? Do you still play with your GI Joes, Rob, or do you just put them on a shelf and look at them and admire them?
Man, he's got snake eyes ready to go.
He literally has Soundwave in his hand. Okay, this is why Rob doesn't play. He chose not to play Warhammer 40k. Got it. Two choices, guys. Play or don't play.
I did say I wasn't going to play. I'm excited.
You might play again? You might come back to the game?
What?
You going to come back to the game?
I'm going to try out, the new edition. Sure. Why would I not? I got armies just sitting around. I
mean, you do have 5 Titans that I can see right now.
There's a few. I mean, shit, I have armies ready to go. I mean, I'd be stupid not to.
You play them Custodes day one?
I probably could. I kind of itching to play some Knights.
Oh, Knights are going to be sick. I bet you they're going to be so fucking good.
But I never drank the Kool-Aid and, got 9 armigers. That just seemed a little too much for me.
After you painted your 6th one, you were done painting them?
Yeah, I was like, this is a lot. And then magnetize all the weapons and paint all the weapon options.
It goes so hard.
It's a lot.
It's pretty monotonous, acknowledged.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just you know what? I don't need to win that bad. I'll just field what I got, and it works or it don't,
Kara Quinn said he's going to use his Joy Toy figures.
Yeah, that's what I was just. I got my Joy Toys up here.
Yeah, that Tech Marine is pretty legit. I didn't mention it, but they just showed new Dark Angels, Saint Celestine, and Tempestus Scions.
Saint Celestine, damn.
Yeah, they're bringing the Saint.
Really good.
These guys are just crushing it.
That's gonna be the best one. Fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, good job, guys. You crushed it today, Rob. I really appreciated your Dumpster Wars update. It was a great segment.
Damn, that's just wild.
Well, Rob, why don't you take us out of here, man?
Oh, thank you. I'd love to. So that's it for this one, y'all. For exclusive content, early access videos, and more, be sure to become a veteran of the Long War today.